This week on the Storycraft Society, we are going to be making a prop that will be useful in practically every game of D&D you will ever play forever, and it's super, super easy to make. Let's jump into it. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Garmin. This, of course, is the Storycraft Society, and this week we are going to be making a prop for D&D. Now, a little bit of backstory on this. My current gaming group has really been getting into props lately. This is like wearing rings that their character would have, or having a particular prop like a pipe or something like that that would really get them into character. I really, really love it, and it shows their investment in both their characters and the game, which just makes me excited as I can be. Now, my better half, she is an exquisitely talented and skilled miniature painter. This one.
Are you filming me?
She's also playing in that game, and she decided that she wanted to play an Herbalist Ranger for this particular campaign. Now, the way that that works is online we found a homebrew archetype for Ranger called the Herbalist, and basically what she's going to do is reflavor all of her spells so that they are potions that she is making with her herbalism kit. So for example, if she casts Cure Wounds at first level, that is 1d8, she will whip out one of these healing potions and be able to give it to the player that she is giving the Cure Wounds to, and that they get to drink the potion by uncorking it and rolling the red die on the table. I just think that that is so cool and such a neat way to get immersive in a game. This was all her idea, and by the end of the project, I realized that it was so easy to do and really useful in every game of D&D that will have potions or something like that in it. A DM with a set of these that when the players buy a regular old healing potion that is 2d4 plus 2, having this that you hand to your player instead of just saying, you know, you drank your healing potion, I feel like gets everybody more into the spirit of the game. Now, without me flapping my gums anymore, let's jump into how to make such a cool and simple project. Let's go. Since this is such a simple project, let's get started by looking at the materials list that we're going to need to do it. So to start, I got these cool potion bottles from my local Michaels. It was something that they had on the shelf. I don't know if it's something that every Michaels will have, but they did have these. They also had little ones. One second. These guys, which I made sure to buy what they had on the shelf, and what's unfortunate about that is when I went back, they didn't have any more of these, and I didn't save any of these to do for in the video because I didn't know I was doing a video on it yet. The important thing is, this is actually an important side note, the important thing is that you want the opening to be big enough that you can fit any size die down in there. Moving on. The next thing that you're going to need is dice. Now, I have dice from the greatest brand of dice that has ever been made, which is Die Hard Dice, but the type of die that you use really doesn't matter. Now, one thing that I will say is it's nice to use like your red dice to be your healing potions and your green and yellow dice to be your poisons, but that's, again, up to your preference. They can match the color of the potion that you put in your potion bottle, or they could not match. That's totally up to you. So I got a bunch of dice. Next is going to be what we're going to be using to make our potion liquid in there. We're going to be using two things. 5-minute epoxy. This is the JB Weld Clear Weld version, but there's a whole bunch of different ones. You could do like Gorilla Glue, you could do a bunch of stuff like that. But we're going to be using this to make potion that's down in the bottom of the potion vial. And then to color it, I'm using inks. Now here's the good news. You can use acrylic inks, or if you don't have that, you can actually use acrylic craft paint as well. Neither is better or worse, at least in my experience. The one reason that I use the ink is because it's more pigment rich, which means that I can use less of it and then still get a nice big amount of color. The final thing is I have these snack cups, I guess they're called. They're just plastic cups, but that allows me to mix up the 5-minute epoxy a little easier, and then you can pinch them to pour down into your potion bottles. With that said, that's what we need. Now, let's jump into a super easy project. So the way we get started is by setting out our 2 cups. When you're mixing 5-minute epoxy, the way that it works is you need to have an even amount of the hardener and the resin. That's going to make the chemical reaction thing happen. It needs to be an even mix of both in order for it to happen correctly and mix correctly. So the way that I like to do that is by using 2 cups like this. And then what I'm going to do is pour out, we're going to start with the hardener. Ooh. This is so silly. I don't know why I'm doing it this way. All right, pause. That was taking too long. New pack. Try this again. About to there-ish. Then we're going to level out the same amount of the resin in this cup. I do my best to get it as close as possible. And when it looks about the same, then it is time to mix in the ink. So now when I'm starting off with the ink, the cool thing about it is that ink is 100% more pigment rich. That's a weird number to say, but it's way more pigment rich than, let's say, an acrylic paint. So you don't have to use quite as much. So I like to start with, for this amount-ish, about 3 drops. And then what I get to do is mix that all in and start to get an idea of what my color is going to be. I haven't found a reason to either mix it into the hardener more or the resin more. Doesn't seem to make a difference to me. But the thing to remember is that now if you look, that is about half as dark as it's going to be when I do the final mixture, because you're going to be mixing clear in with this. So to me, that doesn't look quite dark enough. You want it to be a little darker at this stage than it will be in the actual final thing. So I'm gonna add, whoa, that was too much. I meant to only add 2 more drops and I accidentally added 3. So this is gonna end up darker than I'm intending. With that said, I'm going to stir this up, take one more look at it. And to me, that looks pretty good. All right, now we're gonna mix the 2 together and then get ready for our pour. I'm gonna pop a lid off here, and then all I'm gonna do is start dumping the hardener into the resin. I wanna get as much of this out as possible. That's really important, because remember, that 50-50 mix is what is going to make the cure happen the best. And then now you start to stir. Now you've got about 5 minutes to get this stuff to set, but my experience is that when it sets, like, I mean, it goes fast. With that said, I don't like to dally around too much, even though I know I have that 5-ish minute buffer. And then now that I've got that, I'm going to begin to pour it into my vial here. I pinch my cup so that it starts to give me like a kind of a pour nozzle, and then I'll just start pouring it in. I do my best not to get it anywhere else because it is pretty hard to clean off. And then about the 50% mark is the place where I like it the best. That gives me enough room to have 2 dice in there for a healing potion or something, but it also looks a little bit nicer. I'll show you that from a different angle once I get this done here. There's that. Now I'm gonna take this, set this off to the side, and we'll take a look at it. So this is about the point that I filled it to, and now what's gonna start happening is a whole bunch of bubbles are going to form as there is a chemical reaction, and then this will start to get hot. That will let you know that it's curing. I will say that I have worked with a couple of different brands, and Gorilla Glue seems to be the one that does it to me the most. Gorilla Glue doesn't ever really seem to get hot, but it still cures and gets rock solid like every other 5-minute epoxy that I've used. I don't know if that's something that I'm doing wrong or I'm just not paying attention or something, but this one gets super, super, super hot. So be careful that you don't burn yourself on the glass. You just let it sit here for about 10 minutes while it dries. Probably you only need 5, but I like to give it a little bit extra. And then we will be able to look at this and see what it looks like when it's done. All right. So while we were waiting for this one to dry, I mixed up another one. Instead of the red crimson ink, I used a vivid lime green to make a cool poison, obviously. With that said, that's how simple this project is. It's not one of those things where I want to oversell the simplicity of it, but personally, I find it really, really neat that with that little effort, you can quickly throw together something like this that is a cool prop that your table will absolutely love. Right now, this is wicked hot, right here. Also, can you tell I went to school in Boston? Wicked hot. And then this one is currently also wicked hot, so don't burn yourself. It will take a while for these to cool down and get to room temperature, even though the 5 minutes of cure time for the 5-minute epoxy is only 5 minutes. That was a lot of 5 minutes in one sentence. I'm gonna let those cool down and then I will check in with you in a bit when I throw some dice down in there. All right, back to our vials just about an hour later, and they are all cured up and ready to drop some dice in. Time for the first roll, get that knocked out of the way. Now we have a super awesome, easy project to drop onto our table. And it's fast. I don't think there's anything wrong with a project that is this simple and this straightforward. For me, it makes me stoked because I get to get it to the table really fast. My players don't know that it only took me 5 minutes, but the effect will be huge when they see it. I just think that this is such a cool thing that will greatly improve a game table. Or just add a little bit of awesomeness to it, just that little bit of extra effort. And maybe that's just my MO. That little bit of extra makes the game that much more special for both me and my players. And I like that. So, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, definitely do all of the YouTube things down below. Comments, likes, shares go a super long way. Subscribe if you haven't. If you're new to the channel, please say hi. I am so excited to meet all the new people down there. It feels like the channel is just growing so much every single day, and I am beyond appreciative for that. So everybody out there who is watching and enjoying all this, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So that's all I've got for this week. Until next week, though, I'll be seeing you.